I've launched over 20 YouTube channels in the last 6 years, 8 of which blew up and resulted in 30k a month in AdSense revenue, but 12 of them failed. So today I'm going to reveal which of these channels failed, and we'll figure out why they failed and how you can correct these mistakes, as no doubt you're making some of them in your channels today. Watch until the end, because if you don't, you might miss the mistake that you're making. This was originally supposed to be a channel centered around corporations and their unusual histories, similar to Magnate's Media. The initial topic I chose was on Kellogg's, because the origins of Kellogg's were shocking, weird, and it had a good click-through potential. And I was right. The first video I posted on the channel, within 3 weeks of uploading, it had over 70,000 views. And I thought, damn, don't I know how to pick them. So I continued making corporate history themed videos on oil companies, luxury themed clothing brands, and not one of those videos got more than 1,000 views. I was stunned. These were similarly themed videos with the same editing and writing style and even similar thumbnails, but the performance data was just not there. Low click-through rate, low average view duration, low impressions. I briefly considered that maybe people cared more about the fact that the Kellogg's video was about cereal, and thought maybe I should pivot to cereal content only, or make it a food-specific channel. However, at the time there was no popular faceless food discussion channels, so I assumed that there was no audience for it, because it seemed too obvious of a niche not to have been tried already. And surely that wasn't the reason it got so many views, because who cares about cereal or food origins? I was also reluctant to do a food channel, as the RPM would have been really low compared to that of the corporate space, given the type of audience and advertisements that would likely feature. I gave up on this channel and moved on after posting about 10 videos. Sidebar, never pick a niche to start a channel in based on RPM. Revenue growth can come from several areas, and just because AdSense doesn't value your viewers highly, doesn't mean that sponsors won't value you, or that your audience cannot be sold to. Anyway, over a year later, I was niche hunting and found a new channel called Weird History Food, that had blown up making exactly the type of videos I made on Kellogg. That was doing incredible numbers every month, which low-key pissed me off. So I figured, why not give it another shot? I deleted all of the business history themed videos because I didn't want to signal to the algorithm the wrong theme for the channel, and I also did not want those existing viewers being suggested food content. But it didn't work. I posted 5 food themed videos, and whilst the algorithm was keen to promote my channel, as shown by us generating good impressions shortly after each upload, it was equally confused and couldn't find the right viewers to recommend the videos to. I determined this by looking at the suggested videos viewer source, which showed a long list of random, unrelated topics and resulted in a bad click-through rate and bad average view duration. The key takeaway here is, when you have that first video that suddenly blows up and you get really excited like I did with this Kellogg's video, calm down and follow the data, specifically the viewer sources on that video, so you can draw conclusions about what kind of YouTube viewer drove the best data. These are the viewers that the YouTube algorithm will be keen to push your future videos to, and therefore are the types of viewers that you want to target, which means you need to tailor your future videos to match the style and theme of that content that those viewers like. This might mean creating more videos in an area that you didn't originally intend, but it's the best way to make sure that your channel grows. Otherwise, you'll be fighting an uphill battle. The other major error I made with Food Fables was I attempted a hard niche pivot on a channel with pre-existing data. Don't do this. I understand you might have a change of heart from the videos that you used to make because of a change in interest, or maybe new inspiration, or you just don't want to make those videos anymore. But even if there's a bit of audience overlap between your old videos and your new videos, your existing audience did not subscribe to you for this new content, and almost all of them will refuse to watch it. Why? Because people don't like to have change thrust upon them, as it triggers a defense response which relates to your level of control over a situation. Viewers will only watch other styles of content if it's their choice, which unfortunately means finding a new video by a new channel. There's a whole body of psychological literature on resistance to change if you want to read up on it and understand this behavior more. If you have a channel and you keep switching content types, you will also confuse the algorithm, and your channel will never grow. Always start a new channel if you intend to make a major content pivot, or make this transition very slowly over a number of months or even years. This is what Ali Abdaal did as he shifted from medical to student content to productivity to business and entrepreneurship. The self-improvement niche has a really high RPM, even with a relatively young audience, because they're more than willing than the average consumer to buy what is marketed to them if it aligns with their self-improvement goals. This means philosophy, self-help, meditation, and related channels all have a really good RPM in the $6 to $12 range for 10-minute videos. I decided, given the rise of male positivity content, there was space for an overly masculine, almost mythical god-type philosopher who could tell tales and advise young men onto a path of purpose and success. I figured this would land really well with a younger audience who are gamers and typically lack strong male role models in the real world. And on that part, I was right. We launched the channel and within 2 weeks had hit 6k views a day, not a bad start. but only 2 or 3 of those videos performed okay, the rest were really underwhelming. Looking at the data, we weren't able to stay above 50% average percentage viewed. The main reason for this, in my view, is that the channel had a disjointed vibe. We had a really engaging, dramatic voice, which was super provoking.
In a world where the roles and responsibilities...
But when paired with generic stock footage, it all fell flat. The visuals needed the same level of weight and grit as the voiceover and music to really immerse the viewer. You need to make sure your videos are a cohesive experience, both in terms of visuals, audio, and story. Speaking of story, I think our initial vision was not really met, because even though we delivered on advice for young men, I don't think we achieved the level of nuance or intelligence of delivery that the audience really needed. Another pitfall that we fell into, which YouTubers often do, is an overusage of keywords, which ruins the impact of the title and might look a little bit spammy to YouTube if there's too much repetition. Out of the drama of 2020, the retail investor and average economic and political news consumer started paying real attention to China. This was magnified by the real estate crisis that started in 2021. So a while later, I set up a team to make China-specific macroeconomic and geopolitical news. From 25 videos posted in June and July, we had a peak of 7,000 views a day. However, as YouTube tends to do, by August it had made up its mind that the channel was no longer worth pushing and views flatlined. But what went wrong? Why did this channel fail? Diving into the analytics first, we can see 2 distinct categories emerged on click-through rate from our 2 trialed thumbnail styles. Firstly, the ones which we trialed on our first few videos, which were high production, overly fake, artist put together thumbnails, which had a terrible CTR, and then later we tried another style, which showed raw, real imagery with specific headlines, and this worked really well, which makes sense, since your thumbnail style should match the tone of your content, in this case real stories and struggles of people in China exposed to economic trends. We kept our title inconsistent so we could tell if it was actually the thumbnail having an impact. So with that problem solved, we moved on to average percentage viewed, which wobbled around the 39% mark, which for a video of 8 to 9 minutes is underperforming what I inferred YouTube's benchmark to be for pushing videos to a large audience, which is about just over 50%. Now, the metrics you see on your video analytics page is not the problem. They are the symptom of the problem, which lies in some part of the viewer experience. In this case, the content itself. If your AVP is underperforming, it could be for any of the following reasons. 1, your content is not up to the standard of the rest of the niche. 2, your hook is not engaging viewers and you are seeing a massive drop-off in the first 30 seconds of the video, which you can verify by looking at your retention chart. And 3, the viewer did not get the viewing experience that they expected based on the title and thumbnail. This is the hardest one to detect because there is no clear data indication of it. You have to go through a process of elimination of the other potentials to boil it down to this disconnect. But this wasn't the problem with Economic Essentials to begin with. Our issue was twofold. It's expensive to get a writer who is both A, knowledgeable in economics, and B, good at writing engaging YouTube videos. We had only budgeted about $60 for quick writing, when realistically it would have taken closer to $150 for a writer with enough knowledge and scripting ability to produce scripts to a good enough standard to retain viewer attention. The issue with cheaper writers is they just want to fill their allocated word count. They don't actively think about what is the best structure for maximizing viewer attention and how do I continually re-engage the viewer when people have a tendency to get distracted. The second problem was the voiceover. He clearly did not understand the content that he was reading and would pause in the wrong places and place emphasis on the wrong words. This creates a really unnatural and jarring experience for the viewer. Another problem was we were late to the party. If you're a late entrant to a niche, the only way to successfully grow is to either do something new within the context of the content in that niche or do what everyone else does, just way, way better. Realistically, you're going to pick the former because the latter is either too expensive or you just don't have the skill set yet. For example, you can't make flashier videos than MrBeast and you're not better than Rainbolt at GeoGuessr. Formula 1 was primed for growth in 2022 because of the popularity of Drive to Survive on Netflix, so I built a team and strategy for the start of the 2022 season, and within 30 days of posting we were getting over 100k views daily, posting 2 videos per week. Once again, I thought, damn, don't I know how to pick them. However, as you can see from this chart, suddenly things went very wrong. Viewership collapsed over the course of a week, and over the course of the next 4 weeks, we struggled to get more than even 100 views per video. This was odd, considering we were reaching the right audience, improving the quality of our videos, and actually getting better hard data like AVP and CTR. So our impression and viewer data seemed really counterintuitive. So what had gone wrong? Well, in order to catch the attention of viewers over the other more popular channels, we were being somewhat provocative with our titling. This meant a great click-through rate, but sometimes viewers felt there was a misalignment between the title, thumbnail, and the actual contents of the video. This led to a terrible like to dislike ratio on one video which had blown up and was driving the algorithm on this channel. Given the channel was relatively new and only had a few videos posted, YouTube didn't have much data to go on other than this very popular video with a terrible like ratio, and thus YouTube concluded that the channel was not worth pushing to viewers. This felt a lot like the channel had been blacklisted, because despite good data, one minor metric on one video had affected the whole channel. The lesson here is, whilst you certainly want to make your videos stand out, you have to do so in a way that still honors the video's contents. The only exception to this is if their content is a meme or comedy-related material, in which case your viewers might not get annoyed by unrelated titles and thumbnails. If you feel you have a similar circumstance where only one or two of your videos have blown up, but the rest are really underperforming, it does not necessarily mean you have been blacklisted by YouTube. In fact, that is the least likely scenario. It's more likely that your poorly performing videos strayed too far content-wise from your original viral video, and it's therefore being shown to the wrong audience. Conversely, if your poorly performing videos are marketed to be the same as your viral video, it could also be a problem. You need to signal to your audience that these videos are inspired by the viral video, but they can stand alone as new content on their own, and are worth watching. If the viewer gets the impression it's a repeat, they won't watch it. Sidebar, you can repeat previous video ideas, but only cycle this once per year, as after 12 months have passed, you've likely cycled out all of your previous audience and your new viewers may not have seen the original video. If you have questions about why your YouTube channel is not growing, DM me on Instagram at ArcherYTWarren.